at the back. 5-second boards held aloft. Red lights are about to come on now. Revs begin to rise, and as the lights go out, which they do, it's a long hold.
Wow.
Now it's a good start from the Caterham of Chris Payne from the outside of the second row of the grid, but it's going to be David Graves who gets the jump and heads up towards Paddock Hill Bend in the lead of the race. It's Chris Payne in second position, and then it's going to be Ray Honeybone there in third place. Ben Davis in the Renault Clio in fourth. Sam Strong is in fifth place. Scott Parkin and Kester Cook fighting over the next couple of places. It's all rather tight as they head up in towards the braking area for Druids, but everybody has safely made it through the first couple of corners.
That was terrifying. The one that caught my eye was the 113 of Scott Parkin, the Team Darkside Seat Toledo, that went firing up into the corner, sort of missed its braking point, and I was a bit worried was going to collect Sam Strong then, but thankfully managed to avoid and sits there, and he's now looking up the inside as they turn left at Surtees. Up past Sam Strong he goes there, but I think Sam will come back at him. Sadly, David Smith and the number 80 car there, not in good health again. I think they had problems at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago. There is a yellow flag waving halfway up the hill, so somebody has stopped somewhere up there, or there's bodywork on the circuit, something like that, but I can't see who or what or why.
Yeah, the race continues in the meantime. The cars flicking their way along the Derek Minter Straight up towards the right-hander at Westfield Corner. From there, they sort of plunge downhill before they climb uphill again. But the safety car is coming out, so whatever the problem is, does mean the safety car will be coming out.
So I can just about see, it's number 25 in the wall under the bridge up to Druids, and I've just seen a flash of orange between the trees on the left-hand side as they go up the hill there. So that would make sense, because from my reckoning, that 25 car is isn't it the orange and black? Is it the Fiesta?
It's the Ford Fiesta. It's the orange and black Fiesta of Tom Starkey, yeah.
Yeah, so sadly that one is out, and that's going to be at least half the car on the circuit, because there's not much grass over on the left-hand side there, is there really?
No,
So
there's not.
that was all behind the trees, just as we were saying. It's going well.
I'm just keeping my eye further back because I don't think the message has quite got out to every competitor yet who's spotted that the safety car is out there, but now they are, I think, starting to get the message. Yeah, so safety car is out there. It was that sort of concertina effect that was worrying me for a second there.
I was looking at you because I was looking that direction, and the fear on your face scared the heck out of me for a minute. Then as I flicked back towards that side of the circuit.
Yeah, the problem is that not everybody sees the safety car boards at the same time, and we have in the past seen a couple of incidents, haven't we, where some cars react to the safety car board a lot quicker than others, and yeah, we end up with incidents. So we didn't, thankfully. It was all averted, but yeah, the look on my face suggested how worried I was.
Here comes I was about to say we've lost the 888 car as well, but it's just come screaming into our view here now. So he's obviously had a moment, because that car started in 11th, did Christopher Howells Roberts. As it comes past, there's no damage to it, so he's got away with it, so it doesn't look dirty as though it's been a gravelly moment either, bizarrely. So maybe just a spin, and that Austin powers it back round in the right direction.
Yeah, so under safety car, then DG recovery unit on hand to remove the stricken Tom Starkey Ford Fiesta from out of harm's way, where it's come to rest up against the barriers towards the left-hand side on the run up towards Druids Corner. It's just that the lightest flash of orange that we can see. If it were the autumn and the leaves weren't on the trees, we'd be able to get a very full view of it, wouldn't we?
I've only just noticed, and there's damage on the back of it. I just suddenly noticed Sam Strong's not in the position we'd expect him to be. He's lost 8 places down to 14th when he was challenging up with the 113 car of Parkin when they went out of our sight. He's got a bit of bodywork flapping out, and he's lost a whole host of positions there, so he's got a lot to do. I mean, frankly, everybody's topsy-turvy, not where you expect to be. Third place now for Ray Honeybone, who started that car, so they've lost out a little bit, but in fairness, that was always going to be the case. Payne in that cage was always going to get a good start, wasn't it?
Some big movers on that first lap. Started 28th, did Jack Ewell, and came through 22nd position, so 6 places gained. He's not the only driver to gain 6 places from starting position as well, because Clive Goldthorpe started 31st and came through 25th at the end of the first lap of the race. So that is a couple of cars that have made good progress. Who else has made good progress on this first lap? Well, 4 places gained for car number 88, which is Luke Jones, who now joins John Cooper at the wheel of the number 88 Fiesta. Also, Phil Bennett. Pete Bennett. I thought he'd qualified a bit out of position for somebody that's right at the sharp end of the championship. The 144 green Renault Clio also gained 4 places compared to his qualifying position, and also another car started 30th, also gained 4 places on that. That was number 75, which was Mike Devine. So yeah, there's a few cars that sort of were out of position after qualifying that are now in the early stages of this one making it up. Remember that we do have a mandatory pit stop over the course of this race as well, where all of the cars have to dive into the pit lane. That mandatory pit stop is the middle 15 minutes of it. So mandatory pit stop must be made between the 15th and 30th minute of the race, and each car must make that mandatory pit stop, which must be a minimum of 2 minutes in length. Now, that's not the car stopping in the pit lane for 2 minutes. That's timed from when they enter the pit lane, that's when the clock starts to tick, to when they exit the pit lane. So they have to be pit lane in to pit lane out, 2 minutes. If they are shorter than that, then they end up with a time penalty or a drive-through penalty or some sort of penalty, which does give the drivers plenty of time to swap over, doesn't it, those that are sharing cars?
Which I know is a key part of it, because if you make it too much of a rush, that's when accidents and mistakes happen, isn't it? So they try to make it that it is enough time, but still we managed to find some of them that will be heading out a little bit quicker than they should have done, and they then suddenly, I mean, it's just a huge penalty they get. What was it?
Kester Cook posted something on social media recently where he absolutely nailed the pit stop and couldn't have done it, well, much better than he did. I'm just going to have a quick scroll through, because he posted it on social media, and it did make me sort of think, crumbs, that was a very good stop. So it should be 2 minutes in to out. And last time, Kester Cook, the stop time, which is from pit lane into pit lane out, was 2 minutes, 0 seconds, 0.184. So he was just 0.184 within it. Yeah, absolutely.
The problem is, if you aim for that, that's when you end up in the first undercut.
Absolutely. You're better off sort of making it 2 minutes and a couple of seconds. Exactly. But if you can make up those 2 minutes in the pits or 2 seconds in the pits compared to other people, it puts you in a good position. So
absolutely. I mean, 2 seconds to make up on track.
Is hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I get it. I know that we sort of tend to have a bit of a chuckle going, right, there's another penalty, and not necessarily this, but this kind of ilk. What I do like is that they've made this nice and clean, that it's the pit stop is in the middle 15 minutes, so after 15, before 30, I don't have to try and work my brain power going, right, so how far in does it start? Is that how much is left or how much is gone? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem with some of them. Yeah, the pit windows aren't as sensibly organised,
exactly.
MSVTs. So looks as though the DG recovery unit is still scooping the Fiesta onto the flatbed section of that recovery. The safety car is already heading up towards Stirling's, so we're going to have, without question, another safety car lap here, which means that we haven't really had much racing, to be honest, as yet. We've still got 37.5 minutes of the race to go, so still another 7.5 minutes before the pit window opens. Remember, leading the championship coming into this weekend on 80 championship points, it is the number 116 Sam Gay-driven Honda Civic, the G&M Motorsport car, that is still running in 12th position, so a little way off where we would expect that car to be running. It's third in Class C as things currently stand. Second in the championship on 75 points, so 5 points off Sam Gay's, is the Ray and Jordan Honeybone Apple Car Care Centre, or Apple Car Centre. That is currently running third on the road. Third in the championship, further 10 points off that, is Team Darkside, which is the car of Scott Parkin, the Seat Ibiza. That is currently running in 5th position. And fourth in the championship is the Foz Motorsport car of winner last time out at Alton Park, which is Simon Harrison. And Simon Harrison is circulating down in 10th position, car number 146, as things currently stand. That puts him second in Class C, and directly behind his Foz Motorsport teammates. So it's Foz Motorsport Renaults that are 9th and 10th, Pete Bennett and Simon Harrison, and they are both first and second in their respective classes at the moment, Class C.
Yeah, I guess the good news for the 116 Sam Gay, third in his class at the moment. Not great for what he wants for his championship aspirations, but the Honeybones are also third in Class B, so as it stands at the moment, it's kind of status quo, isn't it?
Well, it won't be the way the points work now.
Oh.
No, because the way the points work in this one is that points are awarded 30 points for first, 27 for second, 24 for third, and so on, and that is regardless of class.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the way they work, but one additional point is awarded to each competitor beaten in your class, up to a maximum of 5 additional points. So it's always the higher power to weight ratio cars that get more points because they've got more powers. But when we get down to something like the Class C leading car, Well, that finishes in 9th at the moment. 9th would net it 12 points, but it's also beaten 1, 2, 3, 4, further 5 cars in its class, so it would get 17. Even though the winner gets 30, plus maybe another 5.
Is this to make up for the fact that I said it was easy, the way they do the pit stops?
Yes, it is, yeah. And you thought it was easy the way they did the points. I've just proved that wrong.
Give with one hand, take with the other. I know.
There's also points for fastest lap as well. So competitors setting the fastest lap in each class in qualifying gets an additional point, and the competitor setting the fastest lap in each class during the race also gets an additional championship point, subject to there being more than 3 people starting in that class. So in reality, if you win your race, beat 5 more competitors, qualify on pole and set the fastest lap, the maximum you're going to work away with is 37 points over the course of a race.
Got you. Simple as that. So the stricken car is now being brought back in with a slightly crunched nose. Got the impression that I think it was coming together with number 26 Ronan Quinn, and they sort of basically were just leaning on each other heading up the hill, and they both sort of touched the grass, and the orange car exits stage left into the barrier, sadly, and judging from that, it really was head on as well, wasn't it? Although it doesn't look like he's gone pirouetting along the barrier, which is quite a common one, Mark, isn't it? That's
no, it's all front end, isn't it? All at the front, yeah. So with the Tom Starkey Ford Fiesta now out of harm's way, the DG recovery unit bringing it through the tunnel, the other Brands Hatch official vehicle that was out there assisting is now back behind the barriers. The pace of the safety car has been upped, and I would strongly suspect that the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, which is perfect timing because it's going to come in just before the pit window opens.
Yeah, good point. With 33.5 minutes left to go, they'll probably get 1 lap under green, won't they, before they start charging in, I would imagine, subject to what speed the safety car. That goes to tell you how this race has gone, is that we've now got numerous purple sector 1s.
Yes, because yes, yes, because they're all slowly speeding up now for the first time, really. Yeah. If you're the likes of race leader David Graves, bearing in mind he's driving on his own, so he doesn't need to sort of equalise the driving duties with anybody else, I'd keep pressing on. If you're, say, a single driver that's in the middle of the pack of cars and you feel as though you're being held up as a result of the bunching up during this safety car period, when the race gets back underway, I think I'd dive for the pit lane, get out of the traffic, get the pit stop done early, and then hopefully you'll feed back into a slightly clearer track.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're going to have to let the race sort of just resettle to understand whether they are being held up at the moment. And, you know, we've got several of them that we know are out of position where they went down through the field a bit, and they're going to look to try and make those back up again now. You've got Sam Strong with just a little bit of rear bodywork hanging off.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to get the race back underway. Remember, no overtaking until they reach the start-finish line. You can be alongside, but you can't have your nose in front until you've got over the start-finish line. Good restart by David Graves. Chris Payne going with him. Then it's Ray Honeybone just ahead of Ben Davis. Scott Parkin. Then the Ford Fiesta in the hands of Kester Cook. That's the top 6 as things currently stand. Kester Cook looking to try and attack the Seat Ibiza of Scott Parkin. Closed up on the run-up Halewood Hill, but couldn't quite get the job done. There's locked brakes further back as Pete Bennett tries to propel his light green Renault Clio up the inside of the number 88 Ford Fiesta of Luke Jones, but Luke Jones having none of it and make sure he got the move covered off. So they go along the Cooper straight, and Ray Honeybone here is under pressure, is he? Might lose out 3rd place here. Ben Davis looking for the inside line, but can't quite make it through.
Yeah, just behind them is a driver we know is going to be happily getting stuck in, the 113 car of Parkin, that is 3rd in the championship. It's a Class B car as well, as they all are up there. So, frankly, Parkin's trying to get up, and Ben Davis is, where's Ben Davis in the championship? Sat in 7th place, so they're sort of still at the pointy end, so he just desperately needs to make up those places. And we saw in the early stages is that he will throw his nose up in the tiniest of gaps. Will Parkin trying to move on up, but as you say, great start from David Graves, and he was already 3/4 of a second clear even on the restart. That's how you do it. Catch him napping.
Absolutely, he really has pulled away, but he ran a little bit wide there coming through Sheen Curve, and he just lifted a little bit of dust into the air there at the wheel of the BMW. That now puts him under pressure from the caterer Caterham of Chris Payne, who really closed up as a result of that very small mistake. So down into the braking area for Clearways they'll come. 3 queuing up for third, fourth and fifth position. Ben Davies looking to attack and defend at the same time. Over the start-finish line now come. It is going to be David Graves that leads the race. It is Chris Payne in second place. Ray Honeybone under pressure from Ben Davies this time, who's got his Renault Clio up the inside of the similar car and should go through. Up into third place goes Ben Davies. Ray Honeybone down into fourth place, and Kester Cook in the Ford Fiesta under attack from Scott Parkin, who he's just taken the place away from.
He has, hasn't he? Because I was saying that Parkin's going to be the one on the move, and it actually ends up completely the other way round. And Kester Cook somewhere out the back there managed to make that move, but he's coming back at him again.
Sam Strong gaining 3 places in the damaged BMW on that lap, and also posting the fastest lap of the race that we've seen so far, 1 minute 48.225, despite the fact he'd got 3 cars to overtake.
Pit window is now open, so next time round they could start coming back in again, and like you say, now comes the sort of like the judgment of going, right, am I better off sticking out here, or do we come in and do it straight away? But has enough of this race settled down again since the green flag for them to know whether they're in a sticky patch or whether they're just as well to stay out there. So 15-minute window is quite long, isn't it? So they don't, like you say, leave it a little bit longer. David Graves, I think you've called it right, is that he may just as well try and stretch his legs now at the front if he can. We said that last time round, and the next thing he was being caught up again on the back half of this circuit, but he managed to take it fine this time, and he's not under extreme pressure as he came through Sheen Curve heading towards Stirling's. He's probably slightly extended his lead this time round.
The best fight for the moment is 4th, 5th and 6th place. Ray Honeybone under pressure from Kester Cook, while Scott Parkin is sniffing around as well. Those 3 just appear into sight now. Kester Cook just managing to hang on to the place. Scott Parkin was trying to come at him at the wheel of the Seat Ibiza. Over the start-finish line come the lead 3. Still BMW from Caterham from Renault. Then it's Ray Honeybone's Renault Clio, Kester Cook and Scott Parkin, and not that far behind those is number 53, which is Kevin Sterling. Into the pit lane, however, is our first pit visitor, and it's car number 146 that heads down pit lane. That is Simon Harrison, race winner last time out at Alton Park.
Okay, so not going totally to plan for that Group C car at the moment, and in fairness, it's not going to plan this time round, is it, for David Graves at the front there? I said that I thought he was going to start stretching his legs, but that's been closed back in again and looking towards the inside in towards Surtees. The Caterham's got the inside line, but not quite able to throw it all the way alongside, but he's just buzzing around him like mad now, isn't he? And I wouldn't say, I mean, lap time wise, David Graves is still putting in personal best, so he's doing okay, albeit probably a good couple of seconds or a second and a half slower than he was in qualifying.
Pit lane buzzer goes off at the end, and this time it's Paul Byrne who brings his Class D Ford Fiesta in towards the pit lane area. We're side by side further down through the order. Kester Cook ran the outside at Hawthorn to grab 4th place away from Ray Honeybone. So the Ford Fiesta now up into 4th position. The Apple Car Centre Clio down into 5th position, and in danger of losing that if he's not careful, because Scott Parkin is not too far away. The leaders head through Sheen and up towards Stirling. The top 3 very much together, all within touching distance of each other. Kester Cook now through into 4th place. Scott Parkin's made it through as well by the look of things. So Ray Honeybone at the wheel of the number 44 Apple Car Centre Clio will be down towards the bottom of the top 6 by the look of things at the end of this lap, and somebody slowing there out on circuit.
Yeah, possibly a puff of dust that they ran wide quite early in that corner and got it collected back up again. But look at this again, the Caterham of Payne, number 45's got a good run on to start finish straight, looking up the inside towards Paddock Hill Bend. This time he's got it alongside. David Graves knows it, he's left in the gap. Good driving by David Graves, but what a fantastic move by Payne there. He set that up all the way around the back half of this circuit, and he's just got to be brave that that smaller car is being seen by the car he's trying to make the move on, hasn't he?
Yeah, small, aren't they, the Caterhams? And so Chris Payne, who wasn't out last time out at Alton Park and hasn't featured inside the top 6. He's not even had a class win in Class B over the course of this season, but he hits the front of the race and will look to try and make good his escape. We've still only had 2 cars head into the pit lane so far, one of which has now rejoined the race, the other of which, Paul Byrne, is just waiting for the last few seconds to tick away. There is one more car now that dives for the pit lane, and that is car number 56. Phil Burden heads into the pit lane this time through at the wheel of his Ford Fiesta.
So the couple that had already been in, the second of those is making their way back out again now. The police car of Paul Byrne is heading out back onto the circuit. Still, we've got various people making moves up through the field. Sam Strong up to 8th position now. Up to 9th has gone the 88 car of Cooper and Jones, and that's Luke Jones at the wheel of that Ford Fiesta at the moment. So they're moving up at the cost of Bennett. The 144 car of Pete Bennett, the green Clio, dropped down a couple of places there on that last lap. Sam Gay is now up into 2nd place in that Group C, so moved up to 11th place overall. So that's good for his championship challenges at the moment then.
Yeah, the clock ticking away. 25 minutes of the race still to go as we await the arrival over the start-finish line of the leading pack of cars, which now sees Ben Davis up into 2nd place. David Graves slipping down into 3rd position.
I'd say Kester's closing in on them as well, isn't he?
At the moment, looking at the lap times, yes, he is. He was the best part of 3 seconds quicker. Sam Strong looking to squeeze up the inside of Luke Jones and can't quite get the job done. 2 more cars dive for the pit lane, one of which is Ray Honeybone at the wheel of the number 44 Renault Clio.
Sam Strong's up the inside, up in towards Druids. He couldn't quite make the move into Old Paddock, but he's done it up in towards Druids. I paused for a second because I thought that the car was going to come back at him then, but the 88 car slots in behind, down he goes. So certainly there's a driver with a bit between his teeth, and still with just that little bit of flapping bodywork. Although I'm looking at it, I think he's lost his bumper. It's just another piece of under bumper bodywork.
Back up the inside though. Ford Fiesta takes the place back. Sam Strong will have to try and see whether he can do anything about it. You were at Castle Combe there for a moment as well, back at Old Paddock.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Christopher House Roberts heads for the pit lane. Car number 144, Pete Bennett, heads for the pit lane as well. Pete Bennett has been a podium finisher overall in the last 2 races. He's finished in 3rd position, so he dives to the pit lane. The other car that's in the pit lane is number 53, Kevin Sterling. So they are conducting their mandatory pit stops.
Good that Sterling's car was okay, because we were a bit worried in qualifying, weren't we, where he suddenly slowed down, and he stayed slow on the Cooper Straight on that lap as well. Now, this is where the dynamic changes for a few of these, and the 44 car is that Ray Honeybone is a good driver, but Jordan Honeybone is a blooming good driver, and I think he's going to now start trying to come through. However, he lost 3 laps in qualifying that was struck off because of track limits, so he needs to be careful what he does now.
He certainly does, yeah. Race leaders coming towards us. This time diving for the pit lane is Ben Davis, heads for the pit lane, so that means that he heads down pit road. Kester Cook also, who started 5th on the grid and had a good race, isn't he? He heads down the pit lane as well. So it is Chris Payne's Caterham that leads the race. David Graves' red BMW now up into 2nd place, and up into 3rd now comes the Seat Ibiza of Scott Parkin, up into 3rd. 4th is now going to be car number 110 Sam Strong, and up to 5th will come Luke Jones at the wheel of the number 88 Ford Fiesta. Another car heads for the pit lane. It's championship leader, isn't it? Sam Gay, 116 is in.
He is. I was just watching that Ben Davis got compromised as he came in, is that he was heading to the same pits as the Sterling car, and that was only just coming out, so he just had to sit there waiting. But presumably they actually start a timer from when he comes in to the pits, because then that means it doesn't matter that he was held up there, because it's from pit in, pit out, you were saying, isn't it?
It is, yeah, pit in, loop to loop.
So as long as they've got that logged somehow, then he's not going to have a problem there. And at the end of the day, there's no driver change, so he's not losing time. He's only sat there waiting anyway before he's going to be released back onto the circuit.
A lot more of them coming in over the course of this lap. They're all slowly filing their way into the pit lane. Number 27, which is Clive Goldthorpe, is in. We've also got in the number 2 Mini of Neil Clark to give way to Andy Langley. Number 66 Richard Clark is in at the wheel of his white and metallic blue Renault Clio. I love the livery on that Renault Clio. So they're all in the pit lane, serving their mandatory part of the pit stop, for which the pit window is still open for another, 6 3/4 minutes at the moment. But, of course, all the cars at the sharp end still as yet to pit. I think it's the top 16 cars, all as yet to pit at this stage.
It is, and I'm just glued to the fact that we've got 93 Kester Cook in the pits. Just behind is the 121 Ben Davis, and they're going to come out largely together. As far as I'm aware, there's no success penalties, is there? No. So it's all the same. So Ben Davis should be coming out in front, as the top 3 cars have already gone: Payne, Graves and Parkin, 45, 1 and 113. And actually, it seems to me as though Kester Cook has somehow managed to jump up above the Ben Davis. So that is a position change, interestingly, in the pits.
It is, yeah, albeit they should be in there for the same amount of time, but yeah, maybe Kester Cook did what he did at the previous round and timed it to absolute perfection, to make sure. Number 88 dives for the pit lane this time through. That's Luke Jones to give way to John Cooper. Been a busy old stint from that. The Porsche is in as well, which is going to be another change of driver, is it not? No, Paul Simpson will remain behind the wheel of that car, and also Sam Strong is in this time through. I can see his BMW in the pit lane.
Yeah, and they're pulling that little piece of errant rear bodywork off to stop that flapping around, but the rear bumper's gone, but that one is just been stuck there, so it's not probably likely to fall off and not likely to be pulled off particularly easily either. But he's in, and they're just going to get that sorted. He was just getting stronger and stronger in that car, wasn't he? Whatever mistake happened out in the countryside on that first lap, he got that back on form again and was really fighting his way back through this field. So
now it's just the top 9 that haven't pitted. So Chris Payne, David Graves, Scott Parkin, the number 69 car, which is Aaron Harding, is yet to pit. 57, that is Gary Littlewood, needs to come in. Ronan Quinn needs to come in as well. The number 9 car of Stephen Kelly also has to come in. Jack Yohill and David Smitheram, they're the top 9. All of those still as yet to come into the pit lane. They've still got to the best part of nearly 5 minutes to come in, so plenty of time. But into the pit lane this time does come from second place. David Graves comes in, and Scott Parkin comes in from third position. So there goes the race leading Caterham, still as yet to stop. But for David Graves, the pole sitter, he is in. And as I said, also Scott Parkin is in at the wheel of the Team Darkside, Seat Ibiza.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing, where's David Graves going? He's going just in front of Sam Strong, and given Sam Strong enough room to be able to pull out the Team Darkside. I mean, that looks just mean with what they've done with the front bodywork on that Seat, doesn't it? And it was so quick 2 weeks ago in the Trackday Trophy at Silverstone on the GP circuit there. It's getting some run out, isn't it? The 2 GP circuits, goodness me. Really room to stretch their legs in both of those. Out goes Sam Strong, and they have managed to rip off that errant bodywork, and he's followed by a whole host of additional cars that are out. We kind of now just need to leave it the time for everyone to settle back into the positions once they've done their pit stops.
Jack Yohill is in, David Smitheram is in, Ronan Quinn is in, the yellow Ford Fiesta, which is Gary Littlewood, is also in as well. So I think that probably means now it's just the leading pair that haven't stopped at this stage. So still out there and leading the race, Chris Payne at the Caterham, who leads by 32 seconds now. And the other car that hasn't stopped, I don't think, is the Honda Civic Type R, number 69 of Aaron Harding. That's the light blue car with its green flashes to it. So I think other than that, everybody has stopped or is in the process of conducting their pit stop.
Yeah, well, I guess Payne's one that is sat there comfortably in the lead. Why pull out now? He's just going to hang fire, isn't he?
The one to watch will be, as and when the race leader does come in, can he serve the pit stop and get back out? In fact, here he comes now into the pit lane. So Chris Payne is in, which means that he is now either going to hand the lead over to Aaron Harding, or Aaron Harding will dive in on this lap. And Kester Cook, who is just coming through clearways now, is about to unlap himself from Chris Payne. Can he do the lap and get back over the start-finish line before Chris Payne comes out of the pits? That's what we need to look towards, because Kester Cook is the first of the cars that's circulating that has conducted the pit stop at this stage.
Well, David Graves is just leaving now, but he's now behind the 113 Team Darkside. I was a bit worried that there was no one in the car anymore, because you couldn't see through the window, and it just seemed to be sat there with no one around it, and he's gone out. So he's lost a position there, interestingly. And in fact, the Honeybones are ahead of 113, just go at the moment at least up and towards Druids, and ahead of David Graves. So the pit stop really hasn't worked out. In fact, Kester Cook's down on the Cooper straight already, Ben Davis behind him, side by side still between 113 and Jordan Honeybone. So this really has thrown a cat amongst the pigeon, hasn't it?
It really has, yeah. Are we going to see the car of Chris Payne go back out in the lead of the race, or can Kester Cook beat him? The Caterham still sits stationary in the pit lane currently. As for Kester Cook, well, he's going to be down at the far reaches of the circuit. He's just turning his way already through Hawthorne Corner, down the Derek Minter Straight towards Westfield, where he'll flick right through Westfield. The circuit then sort of drops away before it climbs up again through Dingledale and up towards the blind entry right-hander at Sheen Curve, which is where Kester Cook will be heading towards any second now. He'll reappear on our camera as the Ford Fiesta there appears into sight, up towards the braking area for Stirling's. The Caterham still stationary in the pit lane at the moment. He turns left through Stirling's, accelerates down the straight towards Clearways Corner, while still stationary in the pit lane is Chris Payne. Where's the Fiesta? It will appear out of our commentary box windows. Here it comes now, up towards Clearways Corner, and the Caterham is still stationary in the pit lane. Kester Cook is going to go through potentially to take up the lead of the race. Chris Payne gets going down pit lane. Can he get out onto the circuit though before the Ford Fiesta? This is all going to be rather nip and tuck, I would have thought. There goes Kester Cook. He takes up the lead of the race. There goes Ben Davis. He goes through into second place, and Chris Payne in the Caterham is down to third.
Wow, that's interesting, and we got hope that Kester Cook has done what you say he's done before, is that just timed that to absolute perfection, because we saw that he jumped ahead of Ben Davis, but the fact that both of those guys have now managed to jump ahead of that Caterham of Payne, that's mighty impressive. But it can go both ways, as we've seen with the 1 Series BMW of David Graves, is that he's lost out quite dramatically in that. So we were saying about the fact that you don't need to rush it, you can be quite patient with it. Well, it just changes as quickly as that.
Absolutely, it does, yeah. I'm just having a quick look through. I don't think the TSL timing will give us statistics in terms of the pit stop times, does it? No, it doesn't. I was wondering if it did give you pit in to pit out times for various cars. So Kester Cook is running as 93, so that one's already disappeared off the screen, unfortunately, so we can't pick up on it. So maybe we should have sort of had a look at that, because it's sort of the stop time is what we need to see. I can see that there's one car, yeah, that sort of misjudged it slightly. It's showing up in red, 1 minute 56.305, pit in to pit out. Does suggest that there could be a penalty for car number 9.
Jordan Honeybones brought the car in. There's a problem with that car, and I think that was Ray that just suddenly looked up and put his hands up in the air to me. I'm not sure. That must be mechanical damage, because I can't see any damage on that. I know he was fighting very hard with the 113 car, wouldn't they, as they went up round, but no, something's catastrophically wrong with that car.
Yeah, Sam Strong's also in the pit lane somewhere as well and tumbling down through the order. Here comes our race leader, lights ablaze, Kester Cook over the start-finish line, putting a lap on Sean Andrews, the number 27 Ford Fiesta in the process. It's in towards the braking area for Paddock Hill Bend, with the Ben Davis 121 Renault Clio Gen 4 not too far behind. Chris Payne at the wheel of that Caterham also well and truly in on the mix as well. Scott Parkin, who sits there in 4th place at the wheel of the Seat, is under pressure from the red BMW that sits behind him, David Graves. So that's a fight for 4th and 5th position. And then in 6th place, that's the first of the non-Class B cars that we've got, where it will be the class winners that will head towards the podium. Leading Class C at the moment is car number 146, which is Simon Harrison, leads Class C down in 6th position, and leading Class D currently down in 13th position is the number 26 Ford Fiesta of Ronan Quinn.
Right, we're getting penalties dished out there, black flag, but sadly it's not coming up on TSL to let us see what penalties are being dished out to who. It was doing it earlier today, wasn't it, for some reason, but it's not doing it, so I'm hoping that we get to see a number being shown on that board and what the penalty is, but we're unaware at the moment, sadly. I'll keep sort of half an eye on that and see whether it does tell us. But
Sam Strong rather enthusiastically just left the pit lane there, so enthusiastically they actually thought he was going to spin into the barriers at pit lane exit. He has left an enormous amount of rubber down there as he absolutely floored the accelerator coming out of the pit lane exit area there.
He pitted again then, so something's wrong with Sam's car.
Yeah, well, he sort of came in a similar time as we saw Jordan Honeybone come in as well, so we'll have to keep an eye towards that one. Here comes the fight for 2nd and 3rd place. Ben Davis under pressure from Chris Payne, who is looking to try and propel the Caterham back into 2nd place once more. If they squabble, it will just allow Kester Cook to disappear up the road a shade more. Through go the top 3 towards Paddock Hill Bend, Ford Fiesta, Renault Clio and Caterham. Then the big gap back before we now see David Graves up into 4th position. Scott Parkin down into 5th position, and then completing the top 6 is car number 146, which is Simon Harrison, who, as we say, was winner last time out overall at Alton Park.
just seen that a penalty is about to be dished out to the 99 car of Paul Burns, or that's just a black and white flag which will suggest track limits. That's the only number that I can see down there as it stands at the moment. But I see that, apologies if you just said this where I'm watching a million things, is that David Graves has got up past parking, sorry.
Yeah, no, he said that, yeah, absolutely. So there goes over the start-finish line 1:16, which is Sam Gay, the championship leader, coming into this weekend. He is circulating down in 13th position at the moment. He's got the light blue Honda ahead of him, which is Aaron Harding. He's got the Andy Langley driven now Renault Mini it will be, that sits behind him in 14th position. Pit lane buzzer goes off, and it's the number 9 car, the one we spotted that had only done pit in to pit out in 1 minute 56.305. So it should be a stop-go penalty for the missing 3.7 seconds. One would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be the plan, wouldn't it? Now the Honeybones car is making its way down to the lower paddock, so sadly that car is out, and it was going so well for them in the early stages, championship-wise, but they started to fall backwards, didn't they, in terms of positions, and then suddenly into retirement, sadly. So they'd be getting the whole car rebuilt until, as you were saying earlier, Mark, what was it, like 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday or something like that, and it hasn't gone to plan. There goes Kester Cook up into second now, has gone Chris Payne, number 45, so the Caterham has moved past Ben Davis and is going to now set about trying to close in on Kester Cook. That was a new fastest lap of the race last time round by Payne. He's got the bit between his teeth to try and get back into the lead of this race, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Chris will soon become a pain in the side, won't he, for Kester, as they turn their way through the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. Kester Cook working as hard as he can, but we'll have to wait and see as to whether Chris Payne has anything else that he can serve up to Cook as they head through the left-hander at Surtees and then heads out of our sight again. There are still 9.5 minutes to go, and well, as yet we don't know what's on the menu, do we? Could it be a win for Cook? Might it be Chris Payne that grabs the victory?
Yeah, you can see why this is so popular with the drivers, can't you? I mean, the amount of track time, the amount of racing that we're getting all the way through, the tactics that come into it about when you stop and making sure you stop for the right amount of time and then getting back out again, you know, and being able to take part on things like the GP circuit here at Brands Hatch. There is no wonder that the MSV Trackday Championship and Trophy are such popular things for people to enter in, and why we get bumper grids every single time we cover these guys.
Yeah, well, they've got another Grand Prix circuit next. They're heading to the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit before they then head to Zandvoort in Holland, which of course will be back on the Grand Prix calendar in 2020. Yeah. So another Grand Prix circuit, you could argue, and they conclude their season here supporting the Indy 500, the 8-hour race that we've got for the Ford KAs here, back here on the Indy circuit on the 16th of November. Back in the pit lane, that's Christopher House-Roberts, is it not? That's back in the pit lane at the wheel of the Honda. As over the start-finish line goes Kester Cook. What happens to the gap first to second? It comes down by another half a second. It's down to 1.6 now.
Still got time, only 8.25 minutes left to go. Is that he can just patiently reel him in. And you've seen that with the strengths and weaknesses between these cars at different parts around the circuit, is that Caterham can really go late on the brakes and dive up the inside of the bigger cars around it, and that's what he's going to be banking on. He's just reeling in Kester Cook left at Surtees, disappearing out into the countryside now, and that gap is down to like probably about 4 car lengths, if that, as they disappear out of our sight. And he's going to be trying to see if there's anywhere he can make a lunge as we watch them coming down the hill towards us, down Hawthorne Hill in towards Hawthorne's. It's still in second is that little Caterham, and Kester Cook doing a great job, and I know that he's been just desperate for this victory for some time. With the amount of work and everything else that he puts into that car, he's been determined to get this victory, and at the moment he's sat there, but he's going to feel like he is a hunted man. Interestingly, by the way, championship leader Sam Gay just lost another place there, down to 14th overall, but most importantly 6th in Class C. That is not going well.
Yeah, he's really dropping down. As for the race leader though, Kester Cook, he has been caught by 3/4 of a second just in the first sector of this lap by Chris Payne. So the Caterham is absolutely charging. There they go, up towards the conclusion of what will be lap number 18 this time through. It was a purple first sector for Chris Payne. He was matched for pace with Kester Cook through the middle part of the lap, so the gap is probably going to be halved. It was 1.6 seconds. It's certainly going to be less than a second. It is now down to 0.7 of a second. New fastest lap for the chasing Caterham, 1 minute 45.687.
Wow, he's just absolutely on the case, isn't he? And they're going to be encountering 3 back markers that are kind of embroiled in their own battle. And Chris Payne was close enough to show his nose a little bit up the inside there, but sensibly realised it would be a little bit too late to actually do that. So he carried the line down and through. The 888 car, by the way, headed down to the lower paddock out of the race. But now turning left at Surtees, slightly different lines. That's first forcing Kester Cook to take the defensive line, and I think the move is going to be done by the time they come into our view, because he forced Kester Cook to take a tight line at the left-hander, trying to defend it and to compromise him on the exit, wait for them to come down. Not quite. They're going to go side by side. I think there's more power in that Kester Cook car as he goes charging down the hill there, and Kester Cook, 93, still in the lead.
Yeah, he's just got more grunt in a straight line. It's power to weight ratio, so the Caterham is going to be a lighter car. It'll be better on the brakes, it'll be better through the twiddly parts, but in a straight line the Fiesta's got the grunt. So Kester Cook, number 93, with 5.5 minutes to go, still out front and leading the race. They'll be heading towards Dingledell and Sheen Curve before too much longer, with the traffic just up the road that we'll need dealing with as well. They've got 3 cars that are going to meet towards the end of this lap, but as they turn in towards the left-hander at Stirling's on lap number 19, it's still the Ford Fiesta just ahead of the Caterham. 3 back markers up the road that will need dealing with. They're not going to quite catch them on the run in towards Clearways Corner. So for Kester Cook, it's going to be on the run up towards Clark Curve and over the Brabham Straight. Well, he'll be able to pick them off, and they're having their own little squabble as well by the look of things, side by side of the back markers. Phil Burden being one of them. I'm not quite sure who the other one is. It's number 9 who's been in for the drive-through penalty, Stephen Kelly. So Kester Cook picks the pocket of Phil Burden, and he's able to go through, put a lap on him. Chris Payne just gets delayed through Paddock Hill Bend as he can't quite manage to gap Phil Burden. The Ford Fiesta now moves out of the way and allows the leading pair to go through. The next car they need to deal with is Stephen Kelly's number 9 Renault Clio, but Kester Cook can't afford to be held up or compromised here because Chris Payne is trying to draw himself alongside, and as they head in towards a braking effort, Graham Hill Bend, Stephen Kelly just about stays out of the way. Kester Cook goes through and grabs the place, and Chris Payne is going to have to wait until later along the Cooper Straight to try and squeeze his way through. The leading pair all through the traffic. They can now roll their sleeves up and get back on with it again.
Wow, that was mighty close, wasn't it? Goodness me. And I just noticed, by the way, keep an eye on our championship leader, Sam Gay, the 116 car. He's at sort of towards the rear of a multi-car gaggle. That means he's gone sort of tipping down that gaggle as it stands. But there it is now. Look at that yellow Fiesta directly behind him as he comes in towards Clearways. And that would put him down to 7th place in Class C, so it cost him yet another place in class. I think something's not quite right with that 116 Honda.
Yeah, that's queuing up behind him is the light blue car of Aaron Harding, and then Gary Littlewood, that will be at the wheel of the yellow Ford Fiesta that sits behind. So.
In fact, that means that Harding's just lost 2 places, actually. They're the 69 car, so that turquoise car has got a bit of an issue.
It's not been the best of laps for Aaron Harding. As for our race leader, well, it was still just about Kester Cook last time we picked up on it. He'll be heading through towards a conclusion of the lap again before too much longer. And as we say, he's dealt with the first little bit of the traffic. He's got a bit more traffic he will catch on this lap, the next of which is going to be the black and red Ford Fiesta of Jack Ewell. So Kester Cook heads through Paddock Hill Bend. 3 minutes on the clock still to go. So he's on to his penultimate lap this time through. And the gap first to second has come out by a full 1.1 seconds that time through. It's up to 1.4 almost.
Yeah, that's where the key fights are, isn't it? Because the guys behind parking just went in at a weird angle into Paddock Hill Bend that time round in the red Seat, but kept it together thankfully. But he's a long way back from David Graves now, who in turn is a long way back from Ben Davis, so they're not able to really have the fight we were expecting at the moment there. But Kester Cook, he's going to be quite relieved because that gap was up to 1.3 last time round, but it's a purple sector 1 for Chris Payne, so he is chasing down after him yet again. He's not managed to do it now. They've got past a chunk of the traffic on the back part of the circuit already, but that looked like it's come back down again, and he's right back with him is Payne. He just got compromised last time round, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and it's the first sort of third of the lap where the Caterham seems to have the upper hand over the Fiesta. Once the speed starts to build out on the Grand Prix circuit, that's where sort of Kester Cook seems to have a very, very slight advantage. They'll be heading through the area of Stirling's again before too much longer. And then from there, of course, they'll be heading on to what should be their final lap of the race, because there's only 1 minute and 35 remaining. Here they come, up towards Clearways Corner, safely past the Mazda RX-8 that David Smitheram was scheduled to be sharing with Hannah Garden. Nose to tail for the lead of the race. This is the best opportunity that Chris Payne has had to try and take the lead of the race, and he rockets through with Kester Cook, I think, having a problem. All of a sudden, the Ford Fiesta is starting to slow, and, well, Kester Cook is retiring the car up at Paddock Hill Bend, which means that Chris Payne goes through to grab the lead of the race, and there's lots of steam, isn't there, coming from the Fiesta?
Yeah, suddenly like a kettle boiling, isn't it, as soon as he stopped that, and so he's running out to try and pop that bonnet to get everything sorted. It's not fire, so he doesn't need it to suddenly be that, but that's sort of like almost head gasket boiling over type thing, that one, wasn't it? And that was all of a sudden from nowhere, Mike, wasn't it? I mean, he'd been fine up until that point and was fighting very well and very hard with that Caterham, but Chris Payne, yes, okay, we've had this retirement, but you can't say he's not going to deserve it as well, because he was lining up the move towards the end of this race as well, I think.
Yeah, he was, yeah. So Kester Cook with both passenger and driver door open. Bonnet is off the car now as well, but he's out.
Got hot inside, I think.
Out of the race, and that's it for him. So that means that Chris Payne not only takes up the lead of the race, he takes up the lead of Class B at this stage. It certainly looks so. Car number 146 is heading towards victory in Class C, which is going to be Simon Harrison, and leading Class D, as it has been for the vast majority of the race, is number 26 Ronan Quinn. And he's got quite a sizable gap. He's got a 12-second gap between himself and the next car that runs in Class D, which is Matt Wright's Ford Puma. But for our race leader, Chris Payne, he is about to head through to the final corner here up at Brands Hatch, Clearways Corner, and then on towards Clark Curve. And he is on for his first victory of the season in the MSV Trackday Championship. He's had to work for it. He got a little bit of luck along the way as well with a late retirement for Kester Cook, but Chris Payne comes through to win what is round 4 of the 2019 MSV Trackday Championship by just 2.5 seconds in the end from car number 121, Ben Davis, who finishes in second position. Third place will go the way of David Graves in the end at the wheel of the number 1 BMW, will finish in third position. And fourth place should go the way of the Team Darkside, Seat Ibiza, which is heading towards a checkered flag now. Scott Parkin will finish in fourth position. Fifth place will go the way of the leading Group C car home, which is Simon Harrison. Seventh place will be the car of Pete Bennett, 144. Eighth place should be car number 40, the BMW, that will come through and finish as the next of the finishes. That was a good run actually for Dan and Patrick Seal, because they started 19th on the grid and come through to finish in 8th position in the end. 9th place will go the way of the number 94 car, which is Paul Simpson, and completing the top 10 it should be car number 12, which is going to be Ben Johansson and Scott Thompson with their number 12 Renault Clio, that goes through now to finish and complete the top 10